Hello and welcome to this video about describing scatterplot correlation. A scatterplot, like this one you see on the screen, is used in many areas. It's used in study, in research, sciences, maths, anywhere where you are measuring one variable against another. Describing the correlation is very helpful for describing what one variable is doing to another, determining as to whether one variable affects another, and can also be used for predicting future attempts or future changes in your variables. There are three types of descriptions that we use when we are describing scatterplot correlation. The first one is whether the scatterplot is linear or non-linear. Now linear, as you can see on the left here, it seems like these dots are following a straight line. So linear means that they are following roughly a straight line. Non-linear, like you see on the right, means that they do not follow a straight line. As you can see on the graph on the right, it goes up and it curves down. This graph on the right does not follow a straight line as it curves. There's a bend in it. So that's our first description, linear or non-linear. Our second description is whether it is positive, as in it is going up, or negative, as in it is going down. Positive or negative is our second description. Our third description is the strength. So the strength of that correlation. Strong means that it is following that straight line or that curved line really nicely. Moderate is that it's there, but it's not as tight. Moderate, it is there, but it is not as tight. Weak means that you can see whether it's positive or negative, linear or non-linear, but it's very faint. It's there, but there's not a lot of pattern. It is a weak correlation. And no correlation means that you can't see any pattern. No correlation means that it is not positive or negative, it's not linear or non-linear. There's no pattern at all. Now determining the strengths can be difficult sometimes. Sometimes you are going to guess whether it's weak or moderate, or whether it's moderate or strong. Sometimes the answer won't be obvious, but you need to use your own intuition and your own guesses as to whether you think it is weak, moderate, strong, or if there is no correlation at all. Let's go through some examples. Looking at this graph here, we have got the height and we have got the weights. So obviously people have been tested, their heights have been recorded, their weights have been recorded, and they have got these data points on this scatter plot. So we need to describe this. So we remember that the first description that we use is whether it is linear or non-linear. So looking at this, can you tell me if it is linear or non-linear? It seems to follow a straight line. So we would say that it is linear. As you can see, it seems to follow this straight line here. There is a little bit of a curve in this here, but there's also equal curves on the outside as well. So it seems to follow a straight line, meaning it is linear. The next is whether it is positive or negative. Looking back here, we can see that it's going up, so it is positive. So there is a linear positive correlation. And the final one is the strength. How close are these dots to this line? We can see that the dots do follow a fairly straight line. They are all bunched together, so it is a strong correlation. So we can describe this as having a strong positive linear correlation. So that's what we would write. This graph has a strong positive linear correlation. Looking at this one, so we need to describe this graph here. We need to describe this graph. I'm going to start by describing whether it is positive or negative. So looking at this graph, is it positive or negative? Well, we can see that it's definitely going up. So it is positive. It's definitely going up. It's not going down. It's definitely going up, so it is positive. The next one is whether it is linear or non-linear. Well, this one doesn't follow a straight line. There's an obvious curve to it, as you can see there. So this one is non-linear. There is a curve to it. And the final one is our strength. How close are these dots to our curve? And I would say it's strong. I would say it's strong. It follows this curve. You can easily see the curve without the line being there. So it is a strong correlation. What about this one? So this one has dots all over the place. So we could already say that it's probably weak correlation. There's dots all over the place. It's not following any real pattern. I would say this is a weak correlation. It's negative. It's going down. You can see that it's going down, so it's negative. And it's also linear. There's no big curve to it. It follows a fairly straight line. So this has a negative correlation. It's linear, but it's fairly weak. You can see the pattern, but it's not very obvious. So we would describe this as having a weak, negative, and linear correlation.